Hello and welcome to Nan Loves Food. This is Ann here today with a not sponsored review of the Vitamix FoodCycler. So this is something that I've had my eye on for a long time, and honestly the price tag held me back for a really long time. It's very expensive, but I garden and we eat a lot of produce, and my hope was that this would make the process of composting a lot easier. I live in Indiana where it gets very cold in the winters, and I was looking for a way that we could still compost and make sure we got to keep all of those good nutrients that were in the food that we weren't going to eat. I thought this product might fit the bill. So I went ahead and purchased one, and I have to say overall, I'm a little disappointed in it. I wanted this to be a thing that I love, that I could come and tell you guys about and recommend and say, yes, this is the thing. But we've had some troubles, and this is actually, the one I'm gonna show you today is actually the second one I had to order because the first one didn't work reliably enough. This is number 2, and it's working a little bit better, but we're still having a lot of issues. And so I'll tell you a little bit about those too. So a little overview of this product. It is meant to be a composter, although it doesn't actually compost in the traditional sense. So what it does is it actually cycles, like it rotates the food around and it kind of dehydrates it. So what you end up with is dirt like this. So it's more like dried food flake than actual dirt, but you can totally throw that in the garden and it will compost from there. So the product is great when it works. It just doesn't always seem to do that. So currently we are at the end of tomato season, which means we're eating and processing a lot of tomatoes. And when I say a lot of tomatoes, I mean like I'm pulling probably 20 pounds out every time I go outside to pick tomatoes. So it's a good bit of tomatoes. And unfortunately, this machine doesn't do terribly well with that much liquid. So I saved for you, this is kind of the inside part. This is what does the work. This is the basket, if you will. And if you can see in there, it is stuck and nasty and not dried like you would want it to be. So this is less than ideal because now I have to go inside and wash this, which is kind of, if I'm ending up with a dried flake, this is more pulpy and wet and not really what we're going for. But this was almost exclusively tomatoes, so it was pretty wet. Yeah, so what I'd like to do is just show you how the machine works, and then you can make an educated choice about whether or not you think this is something you might want at your house. Okay, so you might notice that we are in my garage, which is not a normal place for us to film, but I do think this is the best place to keep the FoodCycler if you're gonna get one. The sound is pretty quiet, it doesn't make a ton of noise, and it is pretty energy efficient. There are some other YouTubers who have done a more in-depth analysis on that piece. Usage of electricity is not a specialty of mine, and there are people who have the equipment to measure all that, and honestly it just doesn't use a ton of energy, which I think is great. But it does run for a long period of time, like I say, especially if you put something that's a little bit, especially if what you're processing is liquidy, like if there's a lot of, like if you're doing a lot of fruit or tomatoes or zucchinis or things like that where there's just a lot more moisture content. It will run for a long time because it takes a long time for that to dry out as it's cycling. There can also be a smell. I just gave birth not that long ago, and so prior to giving birth I had the pregnancy nose, which is still with me a little bit, so hyper sensitive smell, and the smell of this thing running was literally more than I could be around. Now that was with a heightened scent of smell, but it does kick off a certain odor, which I would not want in my kitchen. I know some people keep these sort of in their kitchen. So for me, the garage is the right answer if you've got one, especially one that's attached to your home, which we enter through that door there. So I can just swing right from my house into the garage, stay warm relatively. It's not a heated garage, but it's warmer than going outside to the compost tumbler. We have one of those, you know, rotating bins, which is great, except when it's too cold to go out there. And we eat vegetables year round. You know, we eat stuff that needs to be composted year round. So I've got this bucket mostly clean. You can still see there's a little grime in there. And I have just a collection of scraps from food that we've eaten. There's like some onion peel and like peppers and some herb stems and just, you know, the waste of food. So we are just going to literally take this, we're gonna put it in the machine, we're gonna dump our veggies into that machine and then push go. It's a very, very simple process. I kept looking on YouTube before I purchased it for like directions on how to use it. And the reason that there aren't any is because you really don't need any. It's really, really simple to use. So 2 thumbs up in that department. Very, very simple to use. So here's our bucket. We've just got it on a cheap IKEA table out here in the garage. And then next to it, this is all the crap that we have food cycled. So I'll just take that out to the garden kind of when I feel like it. If you want to get kind of an eye for the texture, this is like corn husks that I put through there. So it went okay, you know, well enough. But otherwise it's almost more like a wood chip consistency. There you go. So we're just gonna take this, we're gonna dump it in. We're gonna put the top on, move it over to lock, and we're gonna push go. So it will move from drying to grinding to cooling. All right, so it is about 5.5 hours later, and we are all done. And as you can see, we have the same kind of dust. We have the same kind of wood chip consistency from all that we put in there. So it worked great this time. But there weren't too many liquidy things in there either. So overall, this is a really cool idea. I think the concept is wonderful, but the execution is a little lacking, just in terms of what I would expect it to do at the price point that it's at. I would expect not to have to manage how many liquids I'm putting in. I would expect it not to get gunked up the way that it does. I mean, when that adheres, like when that gunk adheres, it stops the mechanism from moving completely. Like it will not turn. So it's useless until you get in there and soak and scrub and soak and scrub, which really hurts the efficiency of the machine, right? Like I wanted something where I could go dump my stuff, push a button, walk away and be done. And ultimately, that's not what this is. It's quite a bit more work than that, or it has been for me. So for this price point, I would expect that it can handle what I'm throwing at it, which is pretty normal household use. We're a household of 3, so the volume of stuff that we're going through, we eat a lot of produce, but not like that much produce, so we're only 3 people. So overall, it's a lot more convenient for me living in a state that is cold, especially during the winter, to run out to my garage, throw the stuff in there, and mostly get to push a button and walk away. However, it's really obnoxious when I'm busy, I'm in the middle of doing other things, and I have to stop and go, oh no, my bucket's dirty, there's stuff stuck in it, and now I get to spend, you know, 20, 30 minutes scrubbing or soaking overnight, or, you know, whatever method I'm using to get it clean so that I can use it again. What a pain. So overall, you know, whether or not you buy one is your call. I do think it's okay. I'm just disappointed on the price point. I expected more, especially coming from a company like Vitamix. You know, it's fine. So would I recommend one? maybe, with a few caveats, just to let you know, there are gonna be some problems maybe. And like I say, this is the second machine that I got. I actually went through, the first time it didn't work very well, and so they sent me a new bucket, and I had to send back the old bucket. And then the second time it stopped working, they sent me a new machine. I had to send them back the machine, and then they sent me a new one. Total pain in the butt. I hate when companies make you send the appliance first before they'll give you a new one. Like, I understand why they do that, but as a consumer, then you're leaving me without any product for the couple of weeks that that transfer takes. So giant pain in the butt, but if it's not working, it's not really worth having around either. So yeah, not my favorite thing. I wanted to love it. I really, truly in my heart did. For the summer, we generally are sticking to the outdoor composting situation just because that's easy and convenient, and I'm out in the garden most days anyways. But I will leave a link down in the description box below if you do want to check it out on Amazon. If you use that link, it does help support the channel, so please do that if you would be so kind. If this video was helpful to you, please leave it a thumbs up and give me a comment below. That really helps out the channel, and I do so appreciate it. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.